No better way to start the second half of our hybrid day than to get back on the road to recovery and to understand the role of technology in that. Please welcome Martin Herbert, Senior Commercial Director, Operators of Travelport.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's great to be here and have the opportunity to be speaking at a WiT event with the new hybrid setup. It's fantastic. I haven't been at an event since February, so it's 6 months, so I'm a little bit rusty. And it's a little bit hard to get to see people with the face masks and recognize people at these things. But it is good to be back and engaging again with people, because that's what travel is all about. I'm here very briefly just to talk through some of the trends that Travelport have been seeing. And I'm going to share some of the trends from April to September of this year and just show some of the data points that maybe will help influence some of your thinking and give you some guidance for your planning as you're thinking about the recovery and where it's going and what it all means for our businesses. So using shopping and booking data, we're seeing a very bumpy recovery over the last few months. Over the last 25 weeks, in fact. You can see Middle East and Africa in the last few weeks have only really started to accelerate, and prior to that had been pretty flat. Staying a bit more closer to home, we're seeing a bumpy recovery for Asia and a slower recovery with Asia with many of the borders that are closed. Australasia, with its travel bubbles and its secondary occurrence, again, is another area seeing ups and downs, as has Americas. Taking more of a deep dive into the APAC geo trends, or the travel trends in APAC, we're seeing really Southern Asia really driving huge growth and recovery. That's driven by big domestic markets in Pakistan and India, and a real demand and a propensity to travel in those markets, which is very encouraging. Southeast Asia has remained pretty flat, and Eastern Asia as well, although in there, Korea has been a very bright spot with its big domestic market and shift to the domestic recovery. They're tracking and trending at around about 60% of the pre-COVID levels for the domestic market there, which is very encouraging and gives us much more confidence as we move forward. Where are people traveling? It won't come as a surprise to most people for this conference, given the themes we've talked about. Domestic is really where the heartbeat of the recovery is starting, and we're really starting to see the signs of life coming back. And that's really accelerating over the last few weeks. What we have seen as well is some steady growth on international, and that's spiked upwards again in the last few weeks, which is very encouraging. Intra-region, within the APAC region, again, it's very flat and very stymied by the government trends, the government closures and lockdowns in place, and the closures between many neighbouring countries and borders. So as that opens up, as we start to see green lanes and more recovery, that area will start to really increase and come back up and provide more drive to the recovery and accelerate that for everyone. The booking data and the shopping data only shares so much, though. So what we did at Travelport is we went out with a survey and an analysis of the market. We spoke to over 100 airlines, travel suppliers, airports. We surveyed over 5,000 travellers, primarily from the UK, US, India, Australia and New Zealand, to find out what the sentiments were, what was driving their thoughts around where to travel, when to travel, and their confidence in the travel industry. Whilst it was quite an in-depth study, we've only can pick out a couple of the key points for you today, although I'll share at the end how you can get access to that full survey for yourself. No surprise, but the majority of travellers are willing and ready to consider domestic and international travel. And in fact, the travellers, 49% believe that they would go on a business trip before the end of this year. So there is still a desire to travel, a pent-up demand and a willingness to travel. However, safety measures is really what is one of the key areas for people and key concerns that make sure the travellers need that safety to be covered for their confidence. And we found that there were 9 measures that were required to boost traveller confidence. And some of these won't come as too much of a surprise in terms of cleaning, improved air filtration on aircraft, managed boarding and contact, social distancing, etc. So temperature checks. So we're seeing all of these things. One of the other influences and big measures that was coming back from the traveller survey, however, and over 92% wanted flexible travel. And that flexibility and ability to change a booking, refund a booking, was very high and an influencer for traveller confidence going forward. When we talk about airports specifically, we had from the survey, 93% of travellers felt it was important to have hand sanitizers at baggage points. Temperature checks were very important. And 58% wanted self-service, contactless check-in via mobiles and tablets. However, interestingly, most passengers wanted to actually keep their lounge access and lounge privileges, so safety concerns only go so far. In the in-flight air experience, we're seeing that 92% felt that enhanced cleaning in the aircraft during flights, as well as pre and post-flight, were very important, and that was a critical one. Sorry, however, nearly 30% of airlines were saying that ease of cancellation and reassurance would also be required. So 68% of airlines believe that no flight change fees will stay for a minimum of 3 months to 2 years. And nearly 30% were backing that up by saying there was an ease of cancellation reassurance requirement for up to 2 years. So 92% of travellers think it was important to have that flexibility, and that's being backed up. And we're seeing that trend in the US in particular, leading the way with the US carriers, removing change fees and change restrictions on tickets. For the hotel experience, again, cleaning will become very important, and it's going to be a recurring theme. But 51% wanted to have guest services accessible via their mobile phones. And also hotels were looking for legislation and local regulation to put standardization and to have mandatory cleaning measures and industry regulation to give consumer encouragement and confidence in the booking and the processes. And that was backed up with 94% of travellers requesting the same thing. And hoteliers we're seeing as also moving into providing self-check-in, kiosks, cashless, touchless payments, again, to try to mirror what we're seeing in the airline world of more automation in those areas and technology in those areas. In the travel agency world, 33% are now more likely to book using a travel agent, and 82% are more likely or the same as before to book with a travel agent. So that's very encouraging for us as an industry and for our business in particular. And one thing that was very strong that came out through that is that millennials, 44% of millennials would in fact use a travel agent. So that gives us a new customer base and a younger customer base to build loyalty with from a travel agency's perspective. And really, travel agencies are there. And it's over 60% of the travellers felt it was because travel agents could provide that extra level of service and provide the information needed at time of booking to be aware of what the restrictions were in place at the time. So a quick thing about what Travelport have been doing in terms of the recovery suite. We've launched a COVID-19 hub, which gives a lot of information and tracking information on over 80 airlines, news feeds and news updates, e-learning tools to really help people understand what is happening with COVID and the dynamics in COVID. We've launched a plugin that goes into our desktops product, SmartPoint, and that again has the airline tracker and provides that information really at the point of booking and point of sale. And we've had a very popular response to this with over 92,000 launches of this product in the first few weeks. On our hotel platform, we've also enabled the safety stay indicators and amenity features, which is giving hoteliers the ability to share and show what their safety measures are and what they're doing. Again, giving customers confidence what they're booking will be safe and meet their requirements and needs. And we're offering the same with airlines, with over 300 airlines on rich content and branding for the same attractions and features. And finally, bringing things such as exchange and refunds forward for everybody so that we can improve and help with the ticketing. We've launched an ATBCO emergency flexibility from 12 months to 2 years to enable that and help support the industry and how it grows and moves forward. So with that, I'm running out of time a little bit. So with that, I wanted to just provide these links for you, which shows the resources that we have there and access to the Traveller Confidence Survey. Please feel free to download it and have a look at that information. And thank you very much for your time today and the opportunity to be here with you all and speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Martin.
Thank
It's
you.
good to see you. And thank you for doing your part for recovery, like all of us are here.